Hey guys, thanks for checking out the My Career Path podcast. So, welcome to the channel. This is going to be on the podcast channel as far as Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and whatnot, as well as on YouTube. And if you're listening to this the day that it's released, just wait one more week. I'm having a bunch of YouTube videos that I'm working on that are actually going to be uploaded. If you're listening to it after the fact, go over to my YouTube channel, subscribe, leave a like, and see what you like, and let me know your feedback. I really want to hear from you. So today I want to kind of dive into how important is a master's degree and when should you get it. So let's get into it. So let's dive into this topic because I think it's one that's considered by millions of college students all over the country. Should I go back for more education after my 4-year bachelor degree? After I get my undergrad, should I just immediately go to graduate school, or should I immediately go get my PhD or doctorate or whatever have you? And I know this was something that I heavily considered when I was graduating from college. Should I just immediately pursue an MBA, which is a Master's of Business Administration, or should I maybe get some work experience and then go back later? So I really wanted to dive into this topic. I was doing some research on some different sites to see how to make the most informed decision and hopefully help you decide if you are kind of in that same boat. So let's kind of jump into that first topic. So to start things off, let's go over the main difference between the two, between a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. And for a lot of this, I'm going to be comparing it to a master's degree as far as an MBA, because that's what I was really considering and what I was really focused on. But I think a lot of it can also be applied to a PhD program or a doctorate program or any kind of upper education certificate that you might be considering for your life. Here's a little diagram from the Franklin University that goes over the differences between the two. And so if you're listening on audio, just kind of head over to the link in the description. Hopefully check that out. But the main difference that I want you guys to keep in mind is that usually the average time to complete a master's degree is given right here between 2 to 5 years. It's already after you've completed the 4-year bachelor degree. So it's not saying, hey, to get a master's degree from nothing. It's basically saying if you've already got your bachelor's degree and your undergrad degree, then it'll be another 2 to 5 years to complete. As well as looking at kind of the coursework, where the master's degree is usually between 45 and 50 credits. A bachelor's degree is usually around 120 credits. Now, that might seem like the master's degree would be easier. However, the master's degree is usually a lot more specialized, a lot more focused in a particular topic, which can usually mean heavier workload, a little bit more application into what you're actually doing. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at this diagram, kind of comparing the two. Bachelor's degree is usually when you're going through the 4 years of college, that's what you're going to end up with. Usually it's also called an undergrad degree, whereas a master's degree is a graduate degree or a graduate program that you can kind of look at down the road. And also keep in mind that for those 120 credits that you need for your bachelor's degree, typically some of those come from your generals, as I always call them, or your prerequisite classes, kind of the basic English, math, history, those classes that you kind of have to take just to fill out your degree. Anthropology. Anyone else have to take anthropology in order to fill out their generals? Good times. Good times. Anyways, the big differences come in the amount of time it takes to actually graduate and what type of degree you're pursuing and the amount of time it actually takes to complete the programs needed for graduation. So let's kind of get into helping you decide whether or not you should pursue a master's degree right after your bachelor's degree. So here's an article from NerdWallet from July of 2023, just this last year. Typically, higher education will mean a higher wage. Businesses and companies are willing to pay more for those who will take the time to invest in themselves, which is something that I talk about frequently on this channel. And having a certificate or degree from an accredited university or program definitely gives you a leg up, especially when applying on a resume. People see, oh, they have a master's degree. They're definitely able to commit to a course, commit to a program, and see it out to completion. So according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, workers with a master's degree earned an average of $81,848, while bachelor's degree holders only earned $69,368. About an average of $10,000 difference. On top of that, master's degree holders are much more likely to be employed compared to bachelor's degree holders. So here's another stat from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Master's degree holders only had a 2.6 unemployment rate compared to a 3.5% of a bachelor's degree. So with those two stats, it should seem like a no-brainer, right? Getting a master's degree means more money, more stability, which is something that everybody needs, right? Well, there's a couple more things to consider. One of the first things to consider when looking at a master's degree program is whether or not you can afford it. Getting higher education on someone else's dime has become commonplace in our society, honestly. Take out as much as you need so that you can make more money eventually and pay it back. And I would probably challenge you to think about your future situations. There are still many people still paying off their student loans or waiting for the government to kind of forgive some of those. Whether or not that'll ever happen, we'll never know. But paying for education has become increasingly difficult as more and more money is borrowed in order to pay for it. So, according to Yahoo Finance, college tuition has increased for public schools from $11,840 a year in 1982 to $30,031, a $19,000 difference in 2022, which means for a 4-year bachelor's degree, it could cost about $120,000 for 4 years of college. And on an average salary of about $69,000, and to take out all the other expenses that come out of your paycheck, it's going to be several years before you're able to pay that off. And so I would probably challenge you to start working off to pay off the first debts and then look at way of cash flowing or figuring out how you can better afford to go back for a master's degree before you double down on getting more loans and getting more into debt in order to get your higher education. Another important factor is figuring out what you actually want to pursue down the road. And I know from my own experience that choosing a bachelor's degree is really tough. Sometimes we just happen to fall into the right category, or we just kind of graduate just to get our degree. Not that I would fall into that category. I knew exactly what I was doing. So getting some work experience can actually help us figure out what we like and what we don't like about work. Kind of like dating in that sense, where you figure out what you do like, but probably more important, you figure out what you don't like. And so after getting a little bit more work experience after your bachelor's degree, you may be able to more clearly see what you want to pursue. Maybe business administration isn't exactly all it's cut out to be. So you might want to pursue maybe nursing or maybe a different career altogether. And so maybe waiting a few years and getting a little bit more work experience can actually help you figure out exactly what you want to pursue. And that way you don't kind of just spend all the money on a degree that you might not end up liking or using anyway. So Ken Coleman actually offers some advice on whether or not you should pursue higher education. And Ken Coleman is someone who I highly respect. I highly encourage anyone to go look up videos about him. He's excellent career coach and just gives great advice. So he gives 2 questions for anyone considering getting a higher degree. Is it the only way for you to do what you want to do? And is it the best way for you to do what you want to do? And I think these are 2 very important questions for us to consider when going for any degree or program or certificate. Is it the only way for you to do what you want to do? And honestly, in our modern world, with the internet and technology available to us, it's becoming less and less likely that that's going to be the only way for you to do that. Because there's entire libraries and courses and books on the internet that you can go and research for free. For example, I'm learning how to do video editing so I can do a YouTube channel and so I can produce content in that way. I don't have a bachelor's degree or anything in that. I've never done it before in my life, but I'm able to look up videos on YouTube. I'm able to Google search. I'm able to find answers so easily and then apply them to what I'm doing. And so is it the only way? Maybe, maybe not. It kind of depends on what kind of career you're pursuing. If you're going after more of a lawyer, doctor, those people need to have their degrees in order to actually practice. And so for those, absolutely, it would make sense to get it right after you get your bachelor's degree. The second question, is it the best way? And kind of going back to what I said before, if you're going for those kind of higher professions like lawyer, doctor, accountant, you would need to have those kind of accreditations in order to actually practice what you're learning about. In order to be an actual lawyer or a doctor, you'd have to have the corresponding degrees. Is it the best way? And some of the times, no. For me personally, an MBA might help me in the career. It might help me land a job down the road, might help me get a higher wage, maybe change careers, bounce around to different things and open doors to me. And that's all fine and dandy. But also gathering work experience and getting to know the right people can do the same thing. So it's kind of, which one do you want to pursue? Do you want to continue to go down the college and go for more education on a higher level, get your degree, or do you want to kind of gain work experience? And I believe that you could do either. It's just important for you to know why you're doing that. And another interesting topic that Ken Coleman actually mentions in several of the videos that I watched in doing the research is sometimes we spend too much time learning and not enough time doing. We need to do more application rather than just regurgitation. And what I mean by that is a lot of the times for the tests that we're given in school, growing up and whatnot, we just have to memorize the answers, put them on the piece of paper, and then get prepared for the next test. So it's kind of in there, we put them down on the test, and then they're kind of out the next day. And actually spending more time doing application, more critical thinking, more projects. And for me, I know that I learned a lot more when I was able to kind of have free roam and apply concepts into different projects, but be able to do that. One example that I did have was for one of my classes, we had to do an Excel spreadsheet. We were learning how to do Excel and formulas and all that. And we were given free reign. We just had to meet a certain number of requirements. We had to use a certain number of formulas. We had to be able to pull an image from somewhere. And we had to do something that we had to learn on our own that we didn't learn in class. And for me, I'm a bit of a gamer and I love video games. And so what I did is I basically listed out all of the characters from Super Smash Bros. Melee and the percent damage that each of their attacks did. And for each of them, you could kind of click around and you could pull up an image of that character and you could compare it to any other character and it would show which moves would do how much damage and whatnot. And so for me, that was super cool because I was able to do something in relation to video games, something that I really love, as well as learn more about Excel and do a project based around that. And so that was one of my favorite things that I did in college, and I was able to actually apply it later in life. I was a lot more confident in Excel because of that. So try to find ways that you can actually apply what you're learning rather than just memorizing things. And so that kind of also goes back to, should maybe you get some work experience before a master's degree? And ultimately the question's up to you, but for me, I know it's been really helpful to kind of get into the workforce, see how things work, kind of figure things out on my own a little bit, and help me understand what I want to go into in the future. And I think far too often we kind of fall into the trap of going to school and getting our graduate degree because that's all we've ever known. If you're anything like me, I started going to school when I was 5 years old, and ever since then, I've been pretty much in school all my life. I'd have summers off, I'd get early days off of school, I'd have winter break or whatever, and making the transition into full-time work and working 40 hours a week, no longer getting summers off, maybe getting a couple early days off, getting a little bit more freedom in that sense, but school was all I ever really knew. And so making that transition into the workforce can be kind of scary for some. And so it makes sense to go get your graduate degree. When you graduate from high school, college is the next logical step. When you graduate with your undergrad, a graduate program makes sense. And then after that, you can still go back for more certificates and find more. So making that transition can be scary, but it can also help you see things a little bit more clearly. And I think also it's been helpful for me to actually apply what I'm learning in video editing to these kind of channels. It's something that I enjoy and something that I'm immediately able to then apply to what I want to do and what I'm interested in. So that's just some things to keep in mind as you're thinking about, should I go back for higher education after my undergrad? And lastly, the main reason that I decided to wait on getting my master's degree, and probably will continue to wait for a couple more years, is in talking with HR directors and hiring managers, because they want to see a nice balance of people who have work experience as well as certificates and certifications on what they can do. If it's someone who's got purely just certificates and programs but has no real work experience, it might be a toss-up between them and someone who's worked in the field for 5 years as well as has an undergrad degree. So just deciding on what you want to do was entirely up to you. Hopefully something in this episode has helped you make a decision, or maybe helped you kind of think about it a little bit more. And like I said before, ultimately it's entirely up to you on what you want to do, if you should get it right out of college, or you should wait a couple years to do it down the road. This by no way means that I'm entirely correct and that my situation is the one that you guys should follow, but make sure that you just know why you're going back. Is it the only way that you can do what you want to do? And is it the best way for you to do what you want to do? Of course, you're welcome to disagree with me and let me know your thoughts down below or by sending me an email. Head over to my website, mycareerpathpodcast.com, and check out my other podcast episodes. I have a lot of them that are going to be going up on YouTube in the future, as well as a lot of them that probably will never make it unless I remake the episode. So I want to know your thoughts. If there's any careers that you guys are interested in, that you guys want to have someone on the show that I can talk to them about their path, what decisions they made, let me know down below. I'd love to get someone on the show to talk about it. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.